Hey everyone, sorry for the late submission. Just got off work. I'm exhausted, but we got to get this done. So I'm going to go over chapter 7 and 8 and the two questions I chose for chapter 7 and chapter 8. For chapter 7, question 1, how did the great export boom transform Latin America, and how did it not transform it? The export boom in the late 1800s and 1900s transformed Latin America by putting it into a direct global economy. Countries such as Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, and Chile exported coffee, sugar, beef, bananas, copper, and other goods to Europe and the United States. This brought in new railroads, ports, foreign investments, modern technologies. In certain cities like Buenos Aires and Rio became wealthy and modern. But the export boom did not transform the society to a deeper level. Wealth stayed in the hands of landowners, foreign companies, the cartel, and most rural workers such as peasants, sharecroppers, plantation workers, and indigenous communities saw very little improvement in everyday life. Old social hierarchies stayed in place, and the economy became dependent on a foreign market instead of their own market. So Latin America looked modern on the surface, but the underlying issues still continued. For question 2, what sorts of government arose to oversee the neo-colonial order in Latin America? During the neo-colonial period, Latin American governments were typically authoritarian or controlled by strongmen or cartels, often with the support of foreign powers. Many countries developed systems that were small and elite. Usually landowners, cartels, wealthy businessmen, military leaders controlled the government. These leaders promised order and progress, meaning they would support the foreign investment and exports, agriculture, and stability in politics, but often limited democracy, controlling elections that kept power away from the working class, indigenous people, and Afro-descendant populations. So the government was modern for the higher-ups, and their economic goals were not democratic, and their political structures crumbled. For chapter 8, I chose why did import substitution and industrialization, sorry, I'm very tired, industrialization, ISI, play such a central role in nationalist economic thinking? After the Great Depression in 1929, global trade collapsed because of the failing of U.S. markets. Latin American countries suddenly couldn't rely on exporting raw goods and importing manufactured goods because many of the American markets and European markets could not afford those goods. This pursued nationalists to support the ISI. ISI meant building factories at home on the homelands in Europe and America to produce goods that were much cheaper and to support their own economies that had previously been imported through Latin America. Nationalists liked ISI because it strengthened economic independence. It also created jobs and reduced reliance on foreign companies, which also cut down on tariffs, so people would ultimately pay less. It also fit nationalist ideologies, which wanted Latin America to control itself and its own economy instead of depending on outside powers. And question 2 for chapter 8, what characterized the political style of leaders such as the Carnitas, Varguetas, and Perón? Leaders as Mexico's Reagan, Cardenas, and Brazil's Guateros, Vargas, and Argentina's Juan Perón also shared a similar nationalist and popular style. They presented themselves as protectors of the common people, sort of like a militia. Especially workers, peasants, and urban workers also supported this because their own governments were failing and they needed protection. So why not support someone that would actually protect you? They expanded the labor rights throughout Latin America. They supported unions. They promoted the ISI, kind of growing their own economy instead of other economies, and increased government. They also used strong symbolic politics, such as speeches, rallies, radio broadcasts, public appearances, to build a direct emotional connection to most citizens. They were very popular, but they also centralized political power. So their leadership mixed with social reform was strong, but also very authoritarian. So if you did not do what they wanted, they would ultimately go against you in control. That's all I have. Thank you guys. Have a good week.